Hello, welcome back to English with Ella. It is so good to have you here again. If this is your very first time, welcome. My name is Ella, and on this channel, I tell you true stories from my life. In clear, natural English. Slowly enough to follow, naturally enough to actually learn from. And if you have been here since the beginning, thank you. Truly. I read every single comment, every single message, and every single one of them makes my day. You are the reason this channel exists, and I am so grateful for every one of you. Now, last episode, if you remember, I told you about the most embarrassing English mistake I have ever made. The one where I told 12 strangers at a dinner party that I was pregnant. In French. By accident. And so many of you wrote in to say that you have made similar mistakes. Wrong words, wrong language, wrong moment. And honestly, reading those comments made me feel so much better. We are all in this together. Which brings me perfectly to today's story, because today's story is also about that feeling. That horrible, stomach-dropping, please let the floor swallow me feeling of being put on the spot. Of being expected to speak. Of having to find words, the right words, when your brain has completely and utterly abandoned you. Today's story is called, Just Say Something, Ella. And before we get into it, our first word of the episode. Because it describes exactly how I felt when this story began. Terrified. Terrified. Terrified means extremely frightened. Much, much stronger than just scared or nervous. When you are terrified, your whole body reacts. Your heart beats faster. Your hands shake. Your mouth goes dry. You cannot think clearly. You just feel terrified. Here are your examples. She was terrified of speaking in front of people. That means it wasn't just nervousness. It was a deep physical fear. He was terrified before his job interview. He couldn't sleep the night before. That means the fear was overwhelming. Real and physical. I was absolutely terrified, and then I had to speak anyway. That one is very specific to today's story. Terrified. Hold on to that one, because that is exactly where we begin. So, let me set the scene. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Completely normal Wednesday. Nothing unusual planned. I was at work. I was working in an office at the time, and everything was perfectly ordinary. And then, at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my manager came over to my desk. And she said, very casually, very matter-of-factly, "Oh, Ella, just so you know, we need someone to say a few words at the team meeting today about the new project. Could you do it?" And I said, "Sure, when is the meeting?" And she said, 3 o'clock. 1 hour. I had 1 hour. Now, I need to explain something. Because some people here say a few words at a meeting and think, fine, easy, no problem. Some people are like that. Natural speakers, comfortable in front of a group, not bothered at all. I am not those people. I have always found public speaking, even just speaking in a meeting, even just to colleagues I know, genuinely difficult. My voice shakes, my mind goes blank, I say things in the wrong order, I forget what I was going to say halfway through a sentence and just kind of trail off into silence. And I know that so many of you listening to this right now understand that feeling. Because one of the things I hear most from English learners is, I know the words, I know what I want to say, but the moment someone looks at me and waits for me to speak, everything disappears. Yes, that. Exactly that. And that feeling, that horrible, freezing feeling, brings us to our second word. To freeze. To freeze. To freeze means to suddenly stop,
to be unable to move or speak because you are nervous or frightened or overwhelmed. When you freeze, your body and your brain stop working properly. Everything just stops. Here are your examples. She froze when the teacher asked her a question. That means she stopped completely. She couldn't speak. Her mind went blank. He froze at the start of his presentation and couldn't remember how to begin. That means the nerves took over and he just stopped. I always freeze when I have to speak English in public. That means the moment comes and everything disappears. The words, the confidence, everything. To freeze. That moment when you are expected to speak and your whole self just stops. So, back to the Wednesday. Back to the 1 hour I had. I went back to my desk and I stared at my screen. And I tried to write some notes. What to say, how to structure it, a beginning, a middle, an end. Simple, logical, fine. Except every time I wrote something down, I thought, that sounds wrong, or that's too long, or what if I say that and nobody understands what I mean? I rewrote my notes about 6 times in 45 minutes, and then it was 5 minutes to 3. And I looked at my notes, which were now a mess of crossings out and arrows and things I had underlined 3 times and then crossed out again. And I thought, just say something, Ella. Just open your mouth. Just say something. Which, as it turned out, was easier said than done.
So, 3 o'clock arrives. The meeting room. About 20 people sitting around a big table. My colleagues, people I work with every day, people I know, people who are perfectly nice. And yet somehow, in that moment, sitting there looking at me, they felt like the most terrifying audience in the world. Isn't that funny? 20 people you know, and you are more frightened than if they were strangers. My manager introduced me, said, Ella is going to tell us a bit about the new project. Everyone looked at me. I stood up, and I froze. Not for long, maybe 3 seconds, maybe 5. But when you are standing in front of 20 people in complete silence, 5 seconds feels like 5 years. And then I did something I want to teach you right now because it genuinely helped me in that moment. I cleared my throat. To clear your throat. To clear your throat. To clear your throat means to make a small, soft coughing sound before you speak, like that. It is something people do naturally when they are about to speak, or when they are nervous, or when their voice feels tight. It gives you 1 extra second, 1 small moment to gather yourself before the words have to come. Here are your examples. She cleared her throat and began her presentation. That means she made that small sound, took a breath, and started. He cleared his throat nervously before answering the question. That means he needed just 1 more second before he could speak. When you don't know how to start, just clear your throat. It buys you a moment. That means it is a completely natural way to pause, to breathe, to begin. To clear your throat. Such a small thing. But in that moment, standing in front of 20 people, it gave me just enough time. So I cleared my throat, and then I opened my mouth, and I started talking. And here is the honest truth. It was not perfect. Not even close to perfect. I spoke too fast at first. Nerves do that. I said 1 sentence that didn't quite make sense and had to sort of circle back and explain what I meant. At one point, I looked at my notes and completely lost my place and had a small moment of, where was I? What am I saying? And here is where our next word comes in. Because what I did not want to do, what I was desperately trying to avoid, was mumble. To mumble. To mumble.
To mumble means to speak quietly and unclearly. When you mumble, your words are hard to understand. Your mouth doesn't open properly. Your voice stays small. The sounds run together. People have to lean in and say, "Sorry, what did you say?" Mumbling often happens when we are nervous or unsure or embarrassed. When we don't feel confident about what we are saying, our voice shrinks. It gets smaller and smaller. Here are your examples. He mumbled his answer and nobody could hear him. That means he spoke so quietly and unclearly that the words were lost. Please don't mumble. Speak clearly so everyone can hear. That means open your mouth properly, speak up, let the words out. When I'm nervous, I always mumble. I have to remind myself to slow down and speak up. That means nerves make my voice smaller. I have to consciously fight it. To mumble. And I was so determined not to mumble that I actually spoke quite clearly. Louder than I expected, more confidently than I felt. And something interesting happened. The more I spoke, the easier it became. Just slightly. Just a little. Each sentence was a tiny bit more natural than the one before it. By the time I reached the end, maybe 3 minutes later, I actually felt okay. Actually okay. I sat down. My manager said, "Great, thank you, Ella." And the meeting moved on. 3 minutes. That was all. 3 minutes that had felt, in the build-up, like the most impossible thing in the world. Okay, let's spend some time with our remaining words, because they are all genuinely useful for everyday life, not just for speeches, for any moment when you have to speak, perform, or push through something frightening. Word number 5, confident. Confident. Confident means feeling sure of yourself. Not frightened, not doubtful, just settled, steady, sure. When you feel confident, you believe you can do something. Your voice is clear. Your posture is open. You look people in the eye. Here are your examples. She gave a confident presentation. Clear voice, steady hands, great eye contact. That means she looked and sounded sure of herself, in control. I don't feel confident speaking English yet, but I'm getting better every day. That means I'm not fully sure of myself yet, but I'm improving, and that is completely fine. He became more confident the more he practiced. That means confidence grew with experience, which is how it always works. Confident. And here is something important I want you to hear. Confidence is not something you either have or don't have. It is not a personality type. It is a skill, something you build, something that grows, slowly, imperfectly, every time you try. That Wednesday afternoon, I was not confident when I stood up, but I became slightly more confident with every sentence I said. Confidence came from doing, not from waiting until I felt ready. Word number 6, to take a deep breath. To take a deep breath. To take a deep breath means to breathe in slowly and deliberately, to calm yourself down. When we are nervous or frightened, our breathing gets shallow and fast. Taking a deep breath slows everything down. It tells your body, you are safe. You are okay. You can do this. Here are your examples. She took a deep breath before walking onto the stage. That means she paused, breathed slowly, and prepared herself. Just take a deep breath. You've got this. That means slow down, calm your body, believe in yourself. Before I speak English in public, I always take a deep breath. That means That one slow breath gives me just enough calm to begin. To take a deep breath. Such a simple thing, and so genuinely powerful. Before I stood up at that meeting, in those 5 seconds when I froze, I took a deep breath, without even thinking about it, and it helped. And our final word, word number 7, is the best one. The one I want you to really take with you. Proud. Proud. Proud means feeling very good about something you achieved. Something that was difficult, or frightening, or uncertain, and you did it anyway. And afterwards, you feel proud. Here are your examples. She was so proud of herself after finishing the marathon. That means she had done something hard, and she felt good about it. Really good. His parents were proud of him, not because he was perfect, but because he tried. That means the trying itself was worth being proud of. I felt proud when I had my first English conversation with a stranger. That means it was frightening, but I did it, and afterwards, I felt proud. Proud. After that meeting, after I sat down and the 3 minutes were over, I felt proud. Not because it was perfect, it wasn't, but because I had been terrified, and I had done it anyway. And that, doing something anyway, despite the fear, is always worth feeling proud of. Okay, let's go through every word from today's episode one final time. 7 words. All of them useful. All of them yours to keep. Word 1. Terrified. Extremely frightened. Much stronger than scared or nervous. She was terrified of public speaking. He was terrified before the interview. I was absolutely terrified, and then I spoke anyway. Word 2. To freeze. To suddenly stop. To be unable to speak or move because of nerves or fear. She froze when the teacher asked her a question. He froze at the start of his presentation. I always freeze when I have to speak in public. Word 3. To mumble. To speak quietly and unclearly, hard to understand. He mumbled his answer. Please don't mumble. Speak up. When I'm nervous, I mumble without realizing. Word 4. To clear your throat. To make a small, soft sound before speaking. To give yourself one extra moment. She cleared her throat and began. He cleared his throat nervously. When you don't know how to start, just clear your throat. Word 5. Confident. Feeling sure of yourself. Steady and settled. Not frightened or doubtful. She gave a confident presentation. I'm not fully confident yet, but I'm getting better. Confidence grows every time you try. Word 6. To take a deep breath. To breathe in slowly and deliberately to calm yourself down. She took a deep breath before walking on stage. Just take a deep breath. You've got this. Before I speak English in public, I always take a deep breath. Word 7. Proud. Feeling very good about something difficult you achieved. She was proud of herself after the marathon. I felt proud when I had my first English conversation. Doing something despite the fear is always worth feeling proud of. 7 words, 7 real, natural, everyday English words that you can use today. And now, my question for you. Have you ever had to speak in public? In English or in any language?
Maybe at school, at work, at a family event. Maybe just speaking up in a meeting, or asking a question in a class, or introducing yourself to a group of strangers. How did it feel? Were you terrified? Did you freeze? Did you mumble? Or did you surprise yourself? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And I want you to know, if you have ever spoken up despite being frightened, that is something to be genuinely proud of. Every single time. And if you are enjoying English with Ella, please subscribe. It is completely free. New episodes, new stories, new vocabulary, all designed to help your English feel more natural, more confident, more yours. Coming up in our next episode, I want to tell you about a time when things went surprisingly, unexpectedly right. Because we have had a lot of disasters recently. The rain, the getting lost, the pregnant announcement, the speech. And I think it is time for a story where Ella actually succeeds. Shock, I know. That episode is called The Best Day I Almost Didn't Have. Until then, keep listening, keep learning, and remember, every time you open your mouth and try, in English or any language, you are doing something brave, something worth being proud of, even when it is imperfect, especially when it is imperfect. See you in the next one. Bye for now.